Is it worth it? I don't know. They're very incremental. Difference in price, different chassis, different build, new camera, new software. Is it worth it to pick up the Pixel 9a now that the Pixel 8a has been reduced? All these questions may or may not be answered in this review, but I'm gonna give you my take here on the situation. At the time of this video, both of them are priced at the same amount of $499. The Pixel 9a has a height of 6.1 inches, giving it a 0.1 inch longer than the others. Width and depth are the exact same. With that 0.1 inch height, it gives you 6.1 inch actual display, which is a little bit larger from last year's model at 6.1 inches. The aspect ratio of 20:9 is the same, but with that larger display, the PPI for the aspect ratio is gonna actually decrease because it's 422 PPI compared to the 430 of the Pixel 8a. It's gonna be 1080 by 2424. The screen resolution is 1080 by 2424 with a POLED display that gives you up to 1800 nits HDR brightness or 2700 peak brightness with it turned off, as opposed to the 1400 nits HDR brightness and 2000 nits for the Pixel 8a. Contrast ratio is the same. Both of them support HDR, and they both still have full 24-bit depth and 16 million cores. There is a significant improvement in the battery life for the Pixel 9a at 5100 milliamp, whereas the Pixel 8a was only 4492. You have up to 100-hour battery lifetime with extreme battery saver as opposed to 72. Both have fast charging, both have Qi charging certified. You're using the same Corning Gorilla Glass 3 for the screen. However, the Pixel 9a now has a satin metal frame as opposed to a composite matte back with satin metal frame. Both have fingerprint resistant coating, but the Pixel 9a now has an IP68 dust and water resistance as opposed to the IP67 rating of last year. Both of them have 8 gigs of RAM, starting at 128 gigs of storage up to 256. But it looks like here the Pixel 9a has this integrated hardware security included in the Tensor Security Core certified Titan M2 security chip. Both are integrated with Google Silicon with the Tensor G4 chip for the Pixel 9a as opposed to the Tensor G3. Now where we get to the difference is the camera. The dual camera system for the Pixel 9a is a 48 megapixel wide and a 13 megapixel ultra wide. They have super res zoom up of up to 8x and an optical quality of 0.5x for that ultra wide. The Pixel 8a only uses a dual rear camera system with optical zooming at 0.5x for the ultra and a 1x with that same super res zoom up. The Pixel 8a had a 64 megapixel quad PD wide camera, which gives you an f-stop of 1.89 and an 80 degrees field of view. That field of view actually does increase with this new camera array, 48 megapixel quad PD dual pixel with optical image stabilization and CLAF. That aperture starts at 1.7, which is better, but giving you a little bit more of a punch in. Both of them have the 13 megapixel ultra wide camera at the same aperture length of 2.2 at 120 degrees field of view. Both can shoot 4K, 30 and 60 frames respectively. Both can shoot 1080p at that same with slow-mo as well as up to a digital video zoom of 5x. The front-facing camera seems to be pretty similar. Both of them are a 13 megapixel selfie camera at 2.2 aperture, but the field of view for the Pixel 9a is actually wider at 96.1 degrees as opposed to 96.5. With that said, on the wrap sheet, it looks like here the Pixel 9a is probably a good option to be able to opt into if you're choosing between the two. At the same price here at $499, getting the extra Tensor chip, the better camera array, the longer battery life, and AI integrated with Gemini, I think the Pixel 9a is a good option. Let's go ahead and review both of these more, getting you an idea of the different looks, options, as well as what you're getting into for the camera system as well. As you can see, they look nothing alike. You do have a 0.1 inch height difference here from the 9a to the 8a. You can see that the visor has been gotten rid of, and you actually have the camera array that's more inset in the 9a than as opposed to the 8a. Instead of having that hybrid dual layer here, you do have an all satin metal array all the way around the phone. The chamfered edges are gone from the 9a, although you do have a nice round over here around the perimeter, but it is a much more blocky option that you're looking into. There's no extra buttons or features. The cell bands are in the same location. You have the microphone up here as opposed to the microphone down here. And then it looks like here they put the SIM tray on the Pixel 9a as opposed opposed to the stereo speakers on the Pixel 8a. The SIM tray here looks to be on the side of the Pixel 8a. Both of them come in a myriad of different colors. Both of them have wireless charging, but no MagSafe yet integrated. Both of them have fast charging there on the USB Type-C. Both of them have a very snappy screen. Pretty pleased to be able to see that both of them have really vibrant playback. You can see that it looks like the screen real estate is a little bit wider for the Pixel 9a, and it feels like that 120 variable refresh rate here is really showing off itself here, especially when I just casually scroll. It's able to load up and keep up without any screen jittering or anything like that. As far as the Pixel 8a, I've noticed here that it has slowed down in the last year. As you can see, it's a little bit dimmer and the darks are a little bit less dark. They're more grayish. The reds are more vibrant here. But other than that, gaming for both of these, I think, are very reasonable. Getting a closer look at the camera array, you can see for the Pixel 8a, you've got visor motif with the LED as well. And then you can see that the Pixel 9a has the LED completely separate from the entirety of the body of the visor, and it's got that dual camera array there that's kind of inset. It does poke out just a little bit, but it's much better than this very rocky camera visor that the Pixel 8a has. Both of them feel very great in the hand. As you can see here, I have average hand size, more or less, and having a 6-inch mid-range phone here at its price point, I think is reasonable. Whether you decide on one or the other is gonna be up to you. Right now, you can probably get a good deal on the Pixel 8a. All right, we're on location. We're gonna go over the difference in camera. Obviously, the 9a is new and improved. I'm excited to be able to look at this dual camera, 48 megapixel camera with optical image stabilization as opposed to the previous model. Apparently, the hardware themselves is pretty close, but let's see what the difference is here computationally and from a software perspective. I'm primarily gonna be shooting in 4K 30 just to be able to handhold kind of in a vlog or a content creation style. I'm gonna be focusing on just showing you what it looks like in midday with harsh light. We're gonna be looking at how far it can zoom compared to the others and what low light situations might look like. I think it does a good job in general. The 9a is able to zoom in to my target and be able to get a nice crisp focus. Granted that you're in an environment where you have lots of light. The 8a is able to comparatively compete just fine as well. Spring is out, and so coming up close and looking at these blossoms kind of shows you here the difference in each camera's ability to maintain high fidelity, especially with this really close focal length. The depth of field is nice. You get some decent bokeh. I do have some lights here strung about, so getting close to those, you'll be able to see a little bit of a bokeh ball in the background here. Probably gonna be better in lower light to do that. Stabilization, I think, is one of its best features when you run with the device here. On the back facing, it is gonna be able to stabilize it better than the 8a, but both of them still have that jitter because this isn't your AAA type of a camera arrangement. Low light, you can't really tell the difference in aperture, even though there is a clear, about a half a stop or so difference. But what I like about the Pixel 9a is that the computational photography really focuses in on those greens and blues and kind of really amps up the contrast here, especially if you're in harsh light. Lastly is selfies. Selfie mode is decent. Both of them can shoot in 4K, but you can see the focal length is a little bit different. The 9a doesn't have as a wide a focal length, but you can hardly tell here, especially at arm's length. With that said, it's really up to you guys which one you decide here is going to have a better video performance for you. It really depends on the consumer. If you're going to be using this for more professional settings, you want to use it for photography. I do cinematography and videography. I don't really take pictures on my phone. My wife does that more. And so having something that makes videos, especially if I can hand this off to a kid so that they can vlog the event that I'm in, I'm more interested in that. And so I would say that the 9a just looks better from that perspective. You have better hardware, you have a better focal length, f-stop. Both of them do use the stock Google camera, computational photography and cinematography. So you really don't have an edge there from a software perspective. Okay, now we're on the Google Pixel 8a showing you the refresh on the screen. We're going to be hand holding some Minecraft. I have this extra field of view to show you all the extra blocks and extra graphical computation that it's going to need to be doing. It plays just fine. You can see it's full screen. You can see that the touch controls are fine as well. And it seems like it's a pretty good experience. There are a couple of hiccups here and there. I just wanted to try to press this as best I can to see if the GPU will get stressed. It did get warm after about 15 minutes of play, especially if you're playing something a little bit more heavy or intensive. Now we're moving on to the handheld device. This is the Backbone. It does connect via USB Type-C. It is a great utility and a controller to add to your Google Pixel 8a. Now we can play Minecraft here with full controller support. You can see I do need to adjust the camera a little bit for the sensitivity, but you can use all the buttons, all the other buttons, as if you were using an Xbox controller. The refresh rate is peaking. It does hiccup just a little bit here as I get to areas that needs more graphical intensity there as well. Now let's move on to the Google Pixel 9a. I think the refresh rate on this when you play games is very, very nice. I'm playing Block Blast here. You can see the colors are very vibrant. It is very high refresh, you can tell, as some of those animations are going off, and it's just a fun play there.
Excellent.
That's a nice combo. Now we're moving over to handheld games. I'm playing Asphalt Legends, which is a nice game to be able to play when you're on the go. It doesn't require very complex controls. You just need to have the brake button as well as the nitro button. This one, I think, has some of the best graphics out there when it comes to gameplay, and it really shows off that 120 hertz screen refresh rate. It's able to capture all of the fun, even especially when it goes into slow-mo. It's nice here when I'm making these tricks, running into these opponents. It's fun to be able to play. This did get my device a little bit warm, and so just note if you've got, intensive graphics like Asphalt Legends, it's going to get warm. Now transitioning over to a controller accessory. The Backbone fits with this perfectly as well. Genshin Impact is one of those classic controller supported games that you want to definitely use the Backbone with. It looks fantastic here on the Pixel 9a. I think it does a great job with the color palette. Very bright screen, as well as obviously the 60 frames a second on that 120 hertz display. It does a good job making sure it doesn't overheat while still giving you really high fidelity in the graphics. We're also using the Xbox Game Pass streaming built into the Backbone app, and this just plays terrifically. Oblivion just came out, and I wanted to try and see how well the Google Pixel 9a played with this. As long as you have a 5.0 gigahertz Wi-Fi, you're going to have terrific playback. We're here fighting my first Oblivion gate.
This Oblivion gate looks so good. Wow. Dang.
And I think it looks terrific. Graphics are awesome, 60 FPS. This can be done on the Google Pixel 8a, but it wasn't as clean or high fidelity as the 9a.
Thank the 9.
With that said, I reviewed this here. I think for most of the features that I would care about necessarily in this phone, I like gaming. I like to be able to scroll, make content, vlog. Both of them can do that reasonably. Both of them have very fast refresh rates, long battery lives, except for the Pixel 9a is substantially more. And I think this is a very, very cost efficient phone here for these mid-range phones. Now, to give you my final verdict, right now you can get a pretty good deal at most of your big boxes for your Pixel 8a, which is gonna be well over $100 cheaper than the newly released $500 phone. I don't think it's enough, honestly, to upgrade here one from the other. If you wanted now a lower range phone, the Pixel 8a on the secondhand market, used market, and even on your big box retailers can still get a really good deal for your first Android phone, for your parents, have as your daily driver, or an extra phone. I don't know if right now it's enough to be able to convince me to be able to move to this Pixel 9a. With that said, there's my verdict. All the products here that we go over, you can see down in the description. It does help out the channel. This is a sponsored video. Thanks so much for watching. Tell me what you think down in the comments, if I am way out on left field on this one or not. Thanks for watching. Andy with Tech Influence. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.